Coming up next is W. Michael King, who says dumbed down Americans have forgotten how to think for themselves and that we do not need government or religious leaders to save us.
This is going to be a very hot topic. That's next after these very important messages.
Welcome back to the second half of Matrix TV, and coming up in a minute is Michael King, author of the book Atheists Can Get to Heaven.
That's reassuring. When President Barack Obama took office, his followers believed that he was the last best hope for America. With near religious fervor, people defended his very action, and he was compared to a messiah. But the honeymoon has been short, as the latest polls show his approval ratings have plummeted.
The public is already disgusted with many of his so-called achievements. The stimulus package that has certainly stimulated only the rich, the House-approved cap and tax bill, and the insurance company stimulus package disguised as health care reform. So where's the change? What about the messiah that was going to save America?
Our next guest is Michael King, who has written extensively on how the religion of blind belief has hijacked government and dumbed down Americans, and how we can all overcome that conditioning.
Welcome, Michael. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You called me this morning with an interesting tidbit about the president asking a group of rabbis for help with his health care reform. He's having a lot of trouble with it. Tell us what about that struck you as a topic for another op-ed piece.
Well, I think the key point was it blurs the separation, once again, between what I call the religion of blind beliefs and government. For religion to blur the line into government, it doesn't have to be just about God and country, but it can be about zealotry in almost any cause. But in the case of that conference call, that conference call was originally closed to the media. It was a rabbi who attended the conference call by the name of Molina who leaked it, that the president was saying that the government is in partnership with God for the health care plan.
Wow.
Well, government as a partner with God is the cry of almost every devastating war that's happened in the last millennia or
That
so.
sounds like a return to the John Ashcroft Bush administration.
Oh, yeah. And the fact that financial policies are tangled up with this, and in a major policy so-called overhaul of the healthcare system, it portends of what I call the religion of blind belief having hijacked government one more time.
Well, it hasn't. We thought that this was going to be the end of that nonsense. You know, well,
Right.
I didn't, but a lot of people thought that by bringing Obama as president, that this kind of thing would stop, and obviously it hasn't. But it's not just Bush; it's the whole system. And you say that the independent American is a myth. What do you mean by that?
Well, the independent American has become a myth because it has been so misled by the media in general, by scandals, by zealots who want to sell fear over reason and logic. In the case of the campaign, then Senator Obama was campaigning on the idea of change, and then he emphasized that with change America needs. Why didn't anybody stop and think and say, change to what?
Yeah.
What is the delineation of change? Because obviously you can change for the better, for the worse, and so far, even as verified by the polls you mentioned, this isn't going so well.
Obviously, people wanted to change so bad they didn't stop to think what kind of change. And
That's
while you mentioned these zealots, while we're on this topic, how do we let zealots like Al Gore, for example, frighten us into believing these agendas?
Because people don't think. They just have a blind belief in what he says. This guy presents a movie, and the movie is based on very specious data, which at the time the movie was released had an error compared to the original data that was presented in 1989 by the same technical group that was his advisors for the movie. The error was 100% wrong. And yet the movie goes out and everybody fawns over it. I could play that game. For example, here's a news bulletin for you. Your show will be the very, very first to have this secret carbon dioxide pool that is releasing 83 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere every single day. Every day.
Right.
83 billion metric tons. Should we do a congressional investigation? Should we tax them?
Right.
Would you like to know what the source of this is?
What is it?
Human beings breathing.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Of course it is. And that and the whole thing is, it's, I mean, right now there is even a question of whether the planet is warming up at all. You know, forget about anthropogenic global warming causes, whether it is it at all. Now, religion can be partially blamed for closing a lot of minds, but also you say that atheists can be just as closed-minded as Bible thumpers. You wouldn't think that would be the case.
One minute left, Michael.
1 minute.
Well, atheists have a religious-like blind belief system. They go around saying all must end at death. Consciousness ends at death. Well, that's a great waste of an awful lot of energy. Why should it waste at death? Why should it go away? So the fact that they're adamant about it instead of allowing for other options suggests a religious-like blind belief.
Closed-mindedness in that direction as well.
Michael, hang on with us. We need to get to a commercial break. Here's a book by you, Michael King, Atheists Can Get to Heaven. And we'll be back with Michael King right after this break. Stay with us.